Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I'm really glad you're able to join me today. Got a lot of fun in store for you. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. So let's start with project number 1. For this project, I'm going to be using one of these wood arrows from Dollar Tree, and I went ahead and took the string and the staples and everything off the back. I've already started painting it using Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Caviar, which is basically just a cute word for the color black. And I paint 2 coats around all the edges, of course, including the sides here. Once the painting's done, these are the colors I'm going to be using for my project today. These 3 are for the main part of the arrow, and then I'll be using some wood heart stickers from Dollar Tree and another sheet of paper from my supply, a little cute piece of ephemera, a little frame, a little street sign. These are scrapbook supplies. We'll get to those in a minute, and then one of these chalkboard hearts from Dollar Tree. Now what I did is, the arrow's really big, so I took 2 pieces of paper and I traced the arrow, and then what I did is I went in about 1/8 of an inch for the first line and I redrew a new perimeter all the way around. And then I went in about 1/4 inch and I did the next one, and then I went a little over 1/4 inch for the next one. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off that first part and I'm going to go to my first new perimeter line. And the reason I'm doing this is because the arrow is a little bit big, so 12 by 12 scrapbook paper doesn't quite fit it if you want to use paper to cover it. So by doing this, just going in 1/8 of an inch on the first one, we'll use this new pattern, and this will fit on to our scrapbook paper, of course. Just like that, leaving a little bit of the edge of the arrow showing. Now be careful when you go to trace your arrow onto your scrapbook paper if you have directional paper. Okay, my paper, I actually traced this the wrong direction here, as you're seeing, because when I flipped it over, it has a little bit of really faint script writing on the front, and so when I flipped it over, it's upside down, so I had to retrace it. So make sure you trace the right direction, and I traced 1 for each side, front and back. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my next line, and like I said earlier, that's about 1/4 of an inch in, and I'm going to cut out to that new pattern. We're just going to cook it a little bit slow on this first part, and so you know we get it. Hopefully I explained the directions well enough for you. Get that all traced out. Because I know normally I speed it up a little bit more, but I wanted to make sure that this part was a little slower so you could see the process well enough. Of course, then once I get this done, I'll trace it on my second sheet of paper. Now you might not want 3 layers. You might just want to go 2 layers of paper. Totally fine, or 1. That's perfectly fine too. Again, here, pay attention to the direction of your paper. So if when you go to trace your arrow, kind of flip it over and see if your direction of your paper is, you know, in the right direction. Trace that out, and of course you'll cut that out. And then what we'll do is, of course, repeat the process and go to our new pattern. Of course, here we are to our final arrow shape. Cut that out. And then, of course, you'll trace it onto your last piece of paper. Again, this is only if you kind of want 3 layers. I really couldn't decide which paper I wanted, and I like them all. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to make a few arrow shapes here, and that way I can feature every piece of paper that I want to use. And it looks neat like that when you know, trace out and kind of combine patterns and stuff from your scrapbook paper. Gives it a lot of dimension. So here I am. You can see my arrow is the other way because otherwise my hearts would have been upside down. Okay, so I went ahead and painted my hearts black, my wood hearts here that we're using. So I am just kind of 80 grit sandpaper on the sand block and just distressing the edges because I cut everything just like on the arrow. For the hearts, I traced around it and then drew a new perimeter so that the little bit of edging around the hearts would show around the paper as well. Of course, distressing the arrow. And I chose not to. I went back and forth not to add the hanger back on. But, you know, if you want to, of course, you could go ahead and do that and just kind of hot glue or re-staple it to the back. And I would show you here, I would do it under the paper. So when you get to that back side, you're putting the paper on. If you want to add your hanger back on, I would glue that hanger on first, that jute hanger, and then glue your paper over the top. But first, let's go back here. As you can see, I'm using my sewing machine and I'm sewing around all the edges of all my papers that I cut out for the arrow and the hearts and that little ephemera piece. You can pick up ephemera papers, ephemera packs in the scrapbook section at like Hobby Lobby or Joann's. You know, you look through and you'll see packages of all these little clips and cuts of papers and stuff, especially around the different holidays. It's really fun to use those little ephemera pieces to add a little bit of character to your paper. Once I've got everything sewn, I'm taking the open end of my scissor blades and I'm coming along and scraping it on all my edges of my papers just to roughen up the edges and give it that nice distressed look. This kind of puts the rustic into our farmhouse look here. I don't think there's a time that I don't do this. I just love the look that it gives. I like to show this process, of course, because we have new viewers all the time. We're always learning. Now I've got my paper on the back. Going to go ahead and glue the one on the front. And again, if you want to glue your twine back on, you glue on the back side, maybe glue your twine first and layer your paper over the top to cover it. Then I'm going to go ahead and add the other arrows on the top. Now you could stop at 2 papers here, which I think is totally pretty. But, you know, I wanted to go with 3. And hey, I changed the colors up for you. We've been doing black and red for most of the other Valentine projects. Add a little pink in here for you. You're all special. Thought I'd change it up. Gonna go ahead and add some paper to my hearts here. And remember, all these wood hearts came from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to be adding like a metal label here, a label holder frame to my heart. And I wanted to show you, if you have these frames from Dollar Tree, you could take the label off this holder here, but I will have a link down below for you. I'm going to be using the white one here. 3 different styles that I thought were really cute that I found on Amazon if you wanted to order. So right now here I'm gluing 3 pieces of black cardstock together to glue it onto the smaller heart so that it will make this heart stand up really tall, because we're going to add a clothespin to it and we need to take up that shape. I'm going to add a thing here called Sweet Love I made with my Cricut Explore Air machine. In a minute, I'm just kind of looking at the position. Going to go ahead and put the larger heart down here. Add a little ephemera piece and the lower heart. I'm just kind of checking where I need to put the ephemera piece. I thought it was super cute because it said a 30-day free trial on it. I love it. And then this is just made with the font Smackover from dafont.com. I'll have that in the description box for you. Of course, you can, you know, use any kind of stencils or anything to put on here if you want, or use a paint pen and, you know, paint something on. I thought it was cute because the little ephemera, like I said, says 30 days free trial for Sweet Love for the title. Clothespin I'm using on the right. It's a little fatter. The other 2 are from Dollar Tree. This is as well. I buy these ones at like Christmas with the little felt trees on them because they're smaller, fatter clothespins, and I like them better than the long ones or the little tiny ones, so it's kind of an in-between size. So adding that to the heart, and again we put that cardboard on the back here, so now it'll allow our heart to lay level. Going to add my little frame on it. Again, I'll have some links in the description box for you for 3 styles I thought would be really cute if you want to buy some for your projects, because I use frames, these little library or label holder frames, a lot in my project. This is a little street sign. Again, it's a scrapbooking ephemera piece. Hard to find anymore, but you could put like a sticker here, print something out, and then once this is on, this project is complete. Before we move on to our next project, I'll take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Linda, and I've been a crafter for years. Love doing all sorts of DIY home decor projects, from farmhouse to rustic to primitive. I even love doing paper crafts, just a little bit of everything. I post videos once a week, so go ahead and hit that red subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on a single video from me. If you're on Instagram, I'll have that link in the description box. Pop on by and say hi. And if you're on Facebook, I do have a group. If you're looking for more inspiration from me as well as other crafters in our group, the link will be in the description box as well. Love to see you there. For now, let's move on to project number 2. For this project, I'm going to use this old sign, but I've seen that's jar shaped, but I've seen these at other holidays from Dollar Tree. Some wood heart stickers. This is a wood heart I got from Joann's, I think, or Hobby Lobby. It's like 49 cents. And then some different colors of papers. Huh? Little bit of change for you. Added some more pink in there. I will be doing a quote for my electronic machine, but Cricut, but you could use those stencils, and I'm not sure which color of twine I'm going to be using at first. So I showed you both kinds. The white one is from Walmart. It's about $1.74, so it's really affordable. I'm tracing out the jar on my first piece of paper, and I'm only tracing up to the part that would be the lid of the jar. Now I'm going to go ahead and rip off as much paper of this I can. I think I actually get it all the way off. Use my Cricut tool to kind of pull it off. Now I'm using my sandpaper to go around the edges of that so I can remove the paper from the edges, because you all know how I cut my paper a little bit shy of the edges of my signs and projects and things like that. And this way, by removing that and having that nice edge down to the wood, when you go to paint, it's not all like textured because you were painting on paper. So I drew around the edge, and then of course went about 1/8 of an inch in and drew a new perimeter, and I cut that out. So we're going to do that here. And I will cut one for the front and back. This first sheet is like a red color, and I'll do the same color for front and back, so I cover the back up as well. Once I get this cut out, then I'll go ahead and use this as my initial pattern. You can see here how it just goes right up to the jar shape or lid and leaves a little bit of edge there. Use this as my initial pattern on my next paper, just like we did on the last project. I will trace that pattern out. And on this next layer, I'll go about 1/4 of an inch in. I usually range between 1/8 or 1/4 inch. Just kind of checking here how far in I do actually want to go. And then I will redraw my perimeter here, of course, all the way around that shape. And then this is what I will cut out for my next piece of paper, and then sew on to the third piece of paper. Just like that. Then I'll take all my pieces to the sewing machine. Just sewing directly on my papers here. So I'll show you a little bit of that. Actually, I'll kind of show you this one first sheet just so you can see how easy it is. The sewing machine I use is just a plain Brother sewing machine. It's got a straight stitch and a zigzag. I got it for like $49 at Walmart a few years ago. Set my tension on 4. I only use all polyester thread because my sewing machine does not like cotton, or I get really loose, wonky stitches. And then I just sew directly on the paper all the way around, just like this. All right, so now I've got all my pieces here. I'll have all my hearts, and I'm also going to use one of the domino pieces here. You can get a set of domino game at Dollar Tree, and it's got like a ton of these domino pieces, and they're perfect for making little signs. And as you see, I'm using Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Caviar once again, just like on the last project. And I'm going all the way around, and I'll do a few here, just kind of painting my pieces, just so you see the process. But you know, we all know how to paint, but I want you to check out what I'm doing, because that's why I'm showing you. I know, funky sense of humor sometimes. We'll just kind of skip ahead and just show you on the jar shape. Basically here on this sign, I'm just going around the edge, and then I'll go on the front a little bit. I'll show you about 1/2 inch in here, and I do this front and back. So all the way around the edge, and just like this, about 1/2 inch in around the perimeter, front and back. So everything is ready to go. Taking my 80 grit sandpaper and my sand block, and I'm distressing around all my edges of all my pieces here. So I have one great big large heart, which you could actually use here, that chalkboard hearts, the package of chalkboard hearts you could get at Dollar Tree. just like on the last project. I just use this one because I like the shape of it. And then one kind of medium-sized heart and 3 smaller hearts from those package of wood heart stickers you get at Dollar Tree. And then, of course, 1 domino piece that we'll use like a little sign. All that distress, and I'll go ahead and go around the edges of my jar-shaped tag. Ready to go. Oh, the back I painted all the way because I was going to not cover the back with paper, but I decided to in the end. So using the open end of my scissor blades, distressing around the edges, I just scrape it around the edges of my paper, again, to give me this rustic look. All ready for you. Show you the bigger tag. Of course, we all know how to do it, but there you go. I just love doing this. So we'll start gluing our pieces on. Here's the back side. Here's where I decided to go ahead and cover the back. I just thought it needed something than just black paint. Get that all covered, ready to go. And then we'll start on the front, start covering things up. I got the red piece down first, and then going for our cute little plaid, red and white plaid here. I believe I got that in the open stock paper, Hobby Lobby. And then adding a little bit of a pink to the front of that. So there's our 3 layers. Then we'll go ahead and start gluing our pieces on our hearts. Again, for this heart, you could use one of those larger chalkboard hearts from Dollar Tree. They come in a package of 5, I believe. I use those like eating candy. It's crazy. And these smaller hearts, oh my gosh, you guys, I bought like 10 packages at first, and I went back to get more and gone. And so then I had my cousin go shop for hearts, and I think she got me 6 more packages. That's how much I use those hearts. And not just during Valentine. I just use hearts on a lot of my projects throughout the year. And if I can only get them once a year, I'm stocking up. And I always run out. All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and add glue to all the hearts here, so we're ready to go. And you can see I even sewed on those tiny little hearts. Just love that sewing texture. Kind of gives it that country look. You know, we go for farmhouse rustic, and I think that just sewing on the paper just kind of reminds me of when you sew quilts or something, and it just kind of gives that country look. And so I think that's why I like to do this as well. So I'm adding paper to both sides of all the hearts. Again, here's kind of a medium-sized heart and then 3 smaller hearts. Adding in a little cute red polka dot. Go in with the plaid. Give us that great paper color texture. We're going to move on with the quote part of this project. Now, this is one that I created using my Cricut design space. I will have a link in the description box for you that takes you to my blog for a free printable. I'm sorry for those of you that have electronic cutting machines. I don't know how to make SVG files. I'm working on it. But for now, at least there's a free printable for those of you that want to print this off, and then you can use carbon paper, trace it onto your project, and use like a paint pen or an actual paintbrush with paint or something like that. For those of you that do have cutting machines, the fonts that I used on this one is Corona and Baskerville. So at least I have a way for you to, have what I designed here. I think it's such a cute quote. Love, kisses, and Valentine wishes. I've seen something similar like it on Pinterest, so I just kind of put my flair on it. We'll get this on there and peel it off. Love, love, love how that came out. Just goes in nicely with the colors, of course. And now we're going to go ahead and add in the heart. I'm going to use one of these little scrapbooking arrows. I'm going to be using, I spray painted it in black. I've got little clock hands here. I spray painted, I'll use one in black as well. I've got a little clock face here, and then that little door knocker thing. These are all scrapbook supplies. Of course, a little clothespin from Dollar Tree. Now these kind of supplies, the arrows and the clock faces and things like that, if you go into the scrapbook section like Hobby Lobby or Joann's, you can find those. That little door knocker is going to be too hard to find. I had put a link in my last video, but it was kind of like first come, first serve. serve. Anyway, or even if you go into the jewelry making section of like Joann's or Michael's, those places have really good jewelry stuff. You can find packages of those little clock hands and clock faces and stuff like that. But the arrows definitely, it's the Paper Studio brand at Hobby Lobby. That's where you can get packages of those. So I printed off, used a couple of stickers here and glued them onto this really thin cardboard, like cereal cardboard thin. And it's thin enough it can go through my sewing machine. And so then once I glued those on, I sewed right through them, and it says, "I'm happiest when I'm with you. I love us." So super cute. If you don't have stickers like this, you can print them off, a quote off your computer or anything like that. You can get little packages of these stickers at like Hobby Lobby or Joann's. It's Tim Holtz Ideology Small Talk Sticker Pack. And you get that in the scrapbook section. Just distressing the edges, of course. Laid down that clock, glued that down, glued our little domino sign down, and I'm gluing the little clock hand and this little door knocker here. Now, if you don't have these, label holder frames like we used in the first project would look super cute here. You can glue that on as well. And then, of course, I'll glue my little journaling stickers right underneath that. Super cute. Go ahead and glue the arrow down. Again, these come in like a bronze, I believe, and I, just spray painted it black to go with the colors of the project. Now we're going to work on the top part, our little lid. So cut one piece of twine that's about 24 inches and set it aside. I'm going to go ahead and punch some holes using my crocodile in the hearts. The largest heart and the medium-sized heart, I'm kind of deciding how I want them to lay. And I will punch holes in the corners of those ones, opposite corners. And I kind of do this a little bit weird, but I'll try to explain it when we get to this part at the end. And then the two smaller hearts, I punch holes right in the center. And then you're going to set all that aside. And of course, I replace the hanger back on the jar sign. I'm going to be using two little wood beads as well. The ones I got from Walmart, a bag of wood beads, but you can use the ones from Dollar Tree and paint them. So you've got your 24-inch piece of twine, set it aside, and then go with the rest of your twine. I'm going to start gluing it from the back side first. I glue it up at an angle using Beacon Fabri-Tac glue today. I don't think I showed that at the beginning. How weird of me. I always show what I'm using. Anyway, and then I'll just start wrapping it around and gluing this twine. I go kind of double layer on here, but you could just do a single wrap all the way around. But what I'll start here first is wrap a couple of times around, and then we'll stop and we'll add our 24-inch piece of twine. So I've got a couple here, and then just lay it in there. Let it hang off. We'll deal with it in a little bit. And that twine is extra long. Did that on purpose. You don't need exactly 24 inches, but I rather have a little extra and cut off what I don't need. And so then I'm going to start wrapping this around. And now you can see why I glue that up as an angle. So as I'm wrapping, it'll hide that nice and neat. Add a little bit of glue on top where I already wrapped, so I could go right back over the top again. And again, you can just do single layer. And now you can see kind of why I painted that jar lid top and bottom black, so if anything's seen through the twine, there you go, it covers it up. Make sure you're pulling your hanger out constantly as you're wrapping, and I'm going to go ahead, because this hanger has those little plastic things on it, I'm gluing those down, and then I'll glue and wrap the twine right over the top, constantly making sure that I'm pulling that little hanger out, because I had it a couple of times kind of get wrapped in that twine, but it's easy to pull out. Just make sure you're constantly aware that you don't wrap the whole hanger up in your twine. Wrap a little bit more here, and then I'll kind of show you how I wrap it when I get to the very top edge of the lid. Sorry, I'm laughing. I can hear my cute little cat snoring. So as I get to the very, very tip-top edge, it's really hard. You want to use a lot of glue here. It's kind of hard to, like, you got to let the glue dry a little bit as you're using it. If you're using hot glue, it'll get easier, but please don't burn your fingers. But I wrap all the way around that top edge, making sure that I do a double layer so that I have enough room as I'm coming around those really tiny little corners at the top. And I'm gluing, holding that down, let that glue set. And I'll keep doing this, twisting, of course, wrapping really tight around the top, and then I'll glue last little bit, that very top edge. I'll come around, nice top corner, coming around that, and then right through the center on the top. So hopefully that's explainable, but that's how I kind of covered that top edge. Then once that's set, cut off all the excess. Now I am going to, I did this kind of weird, but it's my way I did it. I'm going to go ahead and thread on the 2 hearts at the top on the left side of the twine. I leave about 1 inch showing there, 1 inch twine there above the hearts, and I'm going to bring that twine on the right side right at the top there above those hearts, and I'm going to tie a knot just so it's in place, secure in the lid of our, sign there. And I'm going to take these hearts and see how I want them to hang so that they hang kind of nicely. Kind of laying my hearts, my other hearts how I want. I'll thread 1 heart on the right side of the twine and then the last one on this left side. Once I get my 2 hearts where I want them to hang nice and flat, I will tie that twine in a knot right at the hole where we punched out of that heart. So you can see that there. Then I'll twine through the hole on this other heart. And basically what I do is I twine through and I'll tie a little knot. And I end up off camera, tie a little knot right up against those hearts. I end up off camera and I glue that knot onto that heart. Okay, so I'm going ahead on this right side, adding my bead. And then I'll cut the excess off, a knot, cut the excess off. So you can see how that knot's just kind of hanging on that right side of that pink heart. So what I do, go through, thread this on, I turned it around, add the knot, I glue the knot onto that heart. And then on the back side, I glue the twine against the back of that heart so that the heart will lay flat. Then add the beads, of course, knot it off, cut off the excess, and once I do all this, this project is complete. So I hope you enjoyed both projects today. I think they turned out so super cute for Valentine's. Leave me a comment down below and let me know which project was your favorite. Did you like the arrow, or do you like the jar-shaped tag, or do you like them both? I'm, of course, as always, curious to know. It does actually help me out to kind of see what, styles that you all like to see. Please give this video a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber so you don't miss a single video from me. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.